Nora, we're on. You can just introduce yourself.
Oh, hello, hello. Okay, my name is Nora Chipaumire. I'm an artist. I like to say that because it allows for more possibility. I work primarily with the body. Let's say the body is my paintbrush, it is my pen, it is the tool with which I use to say many things. I refuse the language of choreographer and or dancer because they seem to me rather inadequate. I think with the body and make works that center and go outward from the body. That's who I am, what I do. I'm born and raised in Zimbabwe and live in the world.
A citizen of the world.
Citizen of the world. Yes,
Indeed.
I claim that. I claim that.
Nora, what a pleasure to have you today. I've been diving deep on all your work in the last couple of weeks, trying to get to know you a little bit more from distance. So I'm actually very thrilled to spend some time with you today, and then hopefully I get you, to go a little bit deeper and see this, not only this artist, but this human being in front of me virtually.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
One thing that I read, and there's a quote that you said it, and I might be paraphrasing over here, but you said something that I'm invested in knowledge acquisition and sharing outside the prescribed parameters. And I love that. I love that. Can you expand a little bit more on that philosophy for me?
Absolutely. So knowledge is a currency. It's always been a currency from secret society to cults to churches to universities. There seems to be always an exclusivity towards, who knows what, when they know it, and then that helps create all kinds of hierarchies and divisions and classes. So once I understood this, oh wow, there is some currency in this question of knowledge. I would love to be in a position where whatever I learn, whatever I know, I can share with others. And outside of these prescriptions, which are either university or in a workshop, or in a very prescribed sort of platform. So how do we do that? How do we make, what we know, either as myself as a human or as a collective, because I'm also, I'm myself, but work with a whole bunch of, when we have information, where do we put that information so that it's just goes all over the place. It's not only limited to the circle of people who've either researched it or talked about it. Is there a way we can share knowledge so that more people can benefit, or more people can question, or more people can be invested in the conversation? So yes, outside of prescribed spaces, so that the conversations can be wider, broader, deeper, and perhaps even more urgent.
So let's explore that concept a little bit further of knowledge being a currency. So today we live in a world that you can say most of the knowledge of the world is within our fingertips, right? We can go to online, type a few things, and you spit it out a bunch of resources and news or quote-unquote knowledge. But when you talk about this prescribed or this parameters, the universities, secret society, do you see that's still the case? Even though we have access to knowledge, we're questioning the quality of the knowledge or the vessel which the knowledge is coming from?
Both. I think, yes, we appear to have information at our fingertips, but that information is very, very superficial. It's a lot of information. But if you're really curious about how animism works, that's not going to be on your YouTube. And if it is, it's very superficial also. So yes, I do think there are spaces which are still under investigated, under shared, for reasons that have to do perhaps with those spaces do want to protect themselves. They don't want to become, so hyper visible. That's the sort of information that I'm talking about. Really, what is life itself? What does it mean to be human? Not just like, how do I put on this color lipstick, and stuff. So, which is what you seem to get a lot of in the social media. Even though I have to say, I am born analog, in pre all this digital world, in the analog world, and somehow I also, part of my commitment is to still converse, still trade in this space where it's face-to-face exchange. The information that you can get from being in the flesh, in a space, or with others, and not just on a screen and a digital platform where there are all kinds of prescriptions, there are all kinds of limitations that are already designed, because, as you rightly said, it's also the medium, that the vessel that is being used. When you're sitting next to a human, there is much more that you can gain, and a lot of it is not even spoken.
That's exactly what I was going to come. There's the whole body language, the whole exchange of the energy and the connectivity that you can have with a human being. This is very limited that we have going on right now. Tell me more a little bit about that, the knowledge of understanding the person next to you through their body language, to how they are sitting, how they're communicating, how they're looking in your eyes.
Yes, and also just how much are you willing to read what is being said by let's say the body is an organism. For me, the body is matter, is an organism, like a plant, like a tree, like the soil, living matter. The relationship that a farmer has with the soil, with the seasons, with the animals, really understanding of, if the cow is sitting a certain way, this is indicative of either health or not, or if the plants are, changing color in this way, this suggests this and this and that. That's the same kind of information you are getting when you're sitting next to another human being who is also another organism. From the ability to smell, the energy that's surrounding them, to reading with the eyes, because it's not only about looking at them, it's how do you read the person, how they shift their musculature, how they shift the bones, and how gravity is reading. What is their relationship to gravity? What is the relationship to the space they hold inside or outside? What is their relationship to you as another organism? Like this is really, I think, those of us who work with the body, we develop, I don't want to say expertise, but we become really, really aware of the color of the skin today. The way the breath is moving, the way the eyes are shifting, the way the chest is being held or not held. So this gives you a whole lot more information beyond what the other human is saying. And as a person who is has chosen or was tasked with this work of working with others, it allows me to either go faster or slower, choose my words carefully or not, or be able to bring into the room other sonics, sound frequencies, shift the volume, because you can tell when people walk into the room whether they need your courage today, or they are standing in their own courage, and perhaps you need their courage. And that exchange, that's a currency that comes from, willing oneself to really read an organism as a human as an organism in the same way that farmers have to deal with land. And I actually really love this thinking through how farmers work the land, people who work the land, how they know, for instance, if that bird sings a certain way, it means it's going to rain. Or if that bird does not sing, because also I'm from the global south, so a great deal of these knowledges exist and are being circulated in certain spaces too. So that's what I would venture to say about working with bodies, working with others, working with humans as organisms, and wanting to know when to nurture or when not to, when to lean in a little bit closer, when not to, all of that. I hope that answers a little bit. Oh,
It does
it's a curiosity.
completely. The way, the way I see it is almost like a radio frequency, right? The closer you can tune into the person's frequency, the clearer the message can come out. The clearer is how you can hear and understanding the message. So I think the farm is a great example as
Brilliant.
well.
The radio frequency is, sorry to interrupt you, but that's also because that's about frequency. That's a vibration, which we're all functioning within certain vibration. Yeah, and yes, if you're at the right megahertz, the voice comes through. But then if you're not, it's just so
The white noise.
Oh, the white nose. So this is a technology that I would say that all the shaman worldwide have hold. That it's and so then that technology, I would say it's a technology that is then transferred into machine. So that even the question of the radio is working in a very animist way. How do you capture this voice? How do even these screens? We're able to talk to each other. You in Texas and I'm in New York. So because we've tuned into a frequency that allows us to meet. If it just gets a little bit destabilized, the reading gets a little bit skewed, right?
No, for sure. And that's another interesting thing, as you mentioned, that the frequency of the human connection is something that most of us were born. It's been with us for millennia now. It's very much inherited with our DNA.
Yes.
But we live in a world that's very noisy. We talked about a little bit earlier about a lot of information, a lot of come at you all the time. You personally, how do you keep yourself connected in a frequency that allowed you not only to continue pursuing your artistic vision, but also communicate that and find people that match that frequency that you currently have?
So first of all, I really believe, belief, faith, trust, that this work is important, that one cannot surrender the desire to live inside of this zeitgeist, this world that is natural, that is connected to the earth, the climate, the living being. That first it's believing that this is important and not having the desire to surrender this belief. So this allows me every day to go a little bit further, deeper in the research, in the conversation, have a little bit more courage to ask elders or young ones, or to be a little bit more observative of what's happening around me. But I want to say, in religious worlds, they talk about faith and having, which it's in the heart. Belief. I believe it is important that some of us humans surrender to this space of being there for others and to create work that wants to exist outside of any sort of extract monetized experience. That doesn't necessarily mean I don't pay people or I don't want to get paid, but it is beyond that. It has to be larger. Yes, one needs to eat, one needs to have a roof over their heads. So that's a part of it. And I also want to say, the Zapatistas, who are a huge inspiration to me, the relationship to land and to living being, and the sincerity of the belief that unless we all have, we all shouldn't have. Unless and until we all have, then we shouldn't have. So I grow up in a time of revolution in Zimbabwe, where the aspirations to this truth: can everyone really be equal? Can everyone really have equal access? I believe in this. I still believe I'm that generation that was born with these tasks, the revolutionary tasks, and I have not surrendered. I have not surrendered the desire for equity for all. So that's the way I would lean into something of a response to that question, and that's what gives me the desire every day to rise again and do again and do it better and try to do it better every day.
So this desire that you're talking about, this thirst for knowledge and keep moving forward and believing in what you're doing, was it something that you developed overnight, or not overnight, throughout the years, something that perhaps you were born with? You already had this little spark as a little child.
I believe I must have been, the animist traditions of which I'm part of, also believe that each one of us are born with, a task to do, work to do. My totemic clan is the lions. The lions are, the kings of the jungles everywhere. Why are they the kings of the jungles? Because they're invested in justice, not the rule of law, but just, So yes, I do think knowing that that's my clan and that's the work has only amplified something that I felt was kind of, my desire to work within this space where people matter, the space where whether it's art making or creating moments where people engage with each other in an artistic, hyper space matters. And I've only grown more empowered as I get older in the understanding that this matters. So if I was born with it, age has made it, like wine, the distillation is clearer to me. The need to do the work is clearer to me. And also perhaps I've been in it long enough that I wouldn't know if there was an alternative.
So we're talking a little bit about destiny. You believe this is you were brought up this earth to do, to pursue, and that's what you're doing right now. You're living through your destiny, your purpose. Yes. That's one way to put it. Yes, fulfilling the work that is mandated, not just for myself, but for all of those who are in my clan. Just as other people who are in different clans have different work to do. And how do you come to be or to find out what your purpose is? I mean, for you, clearly, it was very, from the get-go, you understood your heritage, your culture, your background, so you knew you have at least an understanding of what you want to do and pursue it. But let's see, for people out there who's listening and watching us, there's a lot of young folks trying to figure out what to do with their lives.
Yes.
And they go all over the places trying to find sources and knowledge. And for you right now, what would you recommend? How do you connect to oneself to find what are you here to do in this life?
I would say what's in your heart. What do you hear? The heart is the biggest thinking organ in the body, in the organism, tells you what do you feel, what gives you joy. Start there. What gives you joy? I think a great deal of the Western world is kind of brought up to think of what is in the mind. That the mind is the bigger thinking organ, and that you should pursue reason, as the guideline. And so therefore you should go to school and study this and this, and if you seem to have some acumen, some skill, some ability towards it, that's what you pursue, whether it gives you joy or not. Yeah, so I would say, for me, it's about what is in the heart, what gives you joy, because you will be returning to it day after day. As soon as you're unhappy, you become less productive.
It's true. That's definitely true.
That's what I'd say to the youth,
But that's the thing too, to pursue joy within your heart, a lot of times it takes courage. And maybe that's an attribute that we don't practice very much these days, taking a leap of faith.
Courage, yes, because if you spend way too much time in the global north, the way to measure joy is not really how you feel. It's not really about the health of the organism. It's really material. What kind of zip code you live in, what kind of other material things what kind of schools you can spew out. You studied this and this, what kind of accolades you have acquired, but are you happy? So I think also, part of my as I go towards the end of my life, because I'm old. One every day is going closer to their death. This is a truth. I understand and have no fear of is just what makes life worth living. Is it should it not be about having clean water to drink, perhaps? Should it not be about having enough to eat, maybe not overeat? Things seem that the needs for the organism seem to me much simpler than what kind of zip code, what kind of relationships am I nurturing around, what kind of conversations am I having every day? And are they giving, this zest for life? So, shifting the kind of desires. I think Gayatri Spivak is one of my champions. Not my champion, but like heroes in the thinking world. Always talking about shifting our desires. Yeah, shifting our desires. What do we desire? I desire health for all. What do we need to do to reach that space? Health for all. Clean air, clean water, clean food. Yeah.
You were said something earlier that every day we're closer to death, and that's how. That's just nature. That's who we are. That's what we're here for. Do you think about that? Do you about a legacy?
Yes, I do. I do, because we have to live proof positive that we were here. We have to contribute. I think it's important to contribute to the bodies of knowledge, to the bodies of ideas. I think it's important to be contributive. So if that is framed in this question of legacy, so be it. But one must leave proof positive that one lived. Yeah. And that proof must be taken over by the next and the next and the next, and expanded on. So one needs to work in this life, because we know that the next is coming. The beautiful ones are yet to be born. They're coming. And they, in the same way, we look at the pyramids and wonder and awe. But I think about that, yes, and think, so what's my pyramid? What is that people will look at and say, yeah, but this, maybe we can question this and remove this and add that and build on. Yes, I do think about what we leave behind.
What happened to us after we pass away?
We live on. We live on. We live on in this other dimension. We live on, but not in the flesh. That's what animism is. You live on, but not in the flesh, and you have the capacity to perhaps impact the living. Those who have the eyes and the ears and the heart to connect with the dead.
I want to kind of go back a little bit and talk about your upbringing. Born in Zimbabwe in a very difficult times, and a lot of it happened at the same time. Because as we look at you, listen to what you have to say, you see a full-formed human being in front of you. But everything is brick by brick to get here, and there's a lot of passion and tears and great stories to tell to lead to today.
Yes.
So can you tell a little bit about the role of your family, you growing up, what was it like to you, your relationship with the elders in your region and all of that?
I am a product of divorce. My parents were divorced when I was 5 years old. I'm one of 4 siblings. So raised by a single parent during Rhodesia. My mom was a very young parent. She was a mom at 15 years old. So raised by a very young mother who, in the time of the color bar and the Rhodesian take on its apartheid, really worked extremely hard to raise her 4 children on minimum wage labor. So I grew up understanding that work was important, that one had to work. I never saw my mother go on vacation, so as a result, I personally never go on vacation. I also never saw my grandmother go on vacation, so I'm raised in the on the matriarchal side of my family. My father and his clan never made an appearance in my life until I was over 40. So I have very little, that I've been taught from my father's side. Everything I know comes from my mother's side. The tenacity, the ability to have courage. Really, I think my mother is the most courageous person that I've known in my life. She went from having just barely finished high school to doing private studies, correspondences, until she got herself a master's in theology. What's there not to admire? A huge admiration of the power of women, and the tenacity, the courage, the strength of African women who aren't necessarily always brought into the dialogue. You know, the men have their certain spaces, and as you go out of Africa, the academia, there are certain ways in which the African woman becomes almost non-existent in this picture. So a part of my work is to always remember the allegiance, pay tribute to my mother, her mother, women who were illiterate according to European standards, but very literate according to my standards, and very able. If you see me as a well-formed human being, that credit has to go to my mother, her sisters, my grandmother, her sister.
Bravo, I love it. It's such an crucial part of the conversation. But one thing I think was interesting reading is that outside all of that, you initially studied law, right? That was part of the purpose. So I guess the interesting thing here is coming from that background where hard work was just the norm. They have so much motivation. I'm sure as a child you want to make your mom proud, your grandmother proud.
Yeah.
And then at that point you're pursuing law and you shift to your own passion.
Yes.
Going back, having the courage to follow your heart. What was like that transition? If you can fall back to those days, what was like having that conversation? Say, hey, by the way, I'm making a move.
Ooh, it was, I didn't make that announcement. I just made it and pretended that I was pursuing a doctoral program in law elsewhere. I was the first one in my family on either side, my mother's or my father's, to go to university. So obviously that was an important thing, and also to have been studying law. My mother was so proud. So I did it for my mother, but I also wanted, I had witnessed many instances in which, my grandmothers, I also spent a lot of time growing up with my grandmother, my mother's mother, watched her being humiliated by soldiers and white people, Rhodesians and all that. And part of my desire for law was to be able to defend her, So everyone was super, super proud. And I think in my extended family, the question of law, oh, she studied law, still comes up as like, we don't understand this art world that she kind of ventured into, but she studied law. So it's almost a way to say she's not really, what you think. I don't know. I think the coloniality that continues to also be part of our lives asks us to return to these sort of university degrees and as a measurement of who we are or our potential. Whereas the art space is always looked at as something very dubious, to be questioned. And the fact that artists always seems to be roaming around, creating things that don't, the value of which is questionable. So yeah, I didn't quite announce that I had shifted from law to thinking about justice through the body, and also that law is not justice, justice is not law, until I had a few accolades. So to say, oh, but Mom, I'm working with this company, something that seemed like a measurement of something. I remember going back to Zimbabwe and working with then the only contemporary dance company called Tumbuka, and my mom saying, well, why aren't you running it? Instead of just coming in and making it work with them, why aren't you running it? So then I understood that she had accepted that this is what it was. That I was doing it, but then she, her desire for, so then you should run the thing. If you're doing this, then you should run the thing. You should just not be coming in as a guest, which, I totally understand. I feel like also a great deal of what I do, I want to hope that my mom is proud and recognizes the validity of all this creativity.
See, I'm here just trying to connect the dots a little bit, because earlier you talk about how the lion is the king of the jungle because it's justice, and then seeing you pursuing law because you wanted to defend your grandmother.
Yes.
You wanted to speak up for the people that you love, and ultimately find your art and be able to do both in a way that would be something that you pursued in love. So through the conversation, we'll be able to connect the dots and see how we're heading and how things are moving forward.
Yes, I think the art really allows me to address, the darkest of spaces in my heart and the brightest of spaces in my heart, and try to use poetry or the poetry of life, the living organism, to talk about injustice, to talk about justice, to hold up the people I love, but not in this, this juridical kind of way. So then putting ideas out in the world so that fellow thinking humans become both the judge, the jury of this situation that we find ourselves.
I love it. I love the conversation. Now, I want to go back a little bit about your work, because I was kind of paying attention to some of your the Dark Swan collaboration that you did, your work on that. It seems like you draw from a lot of different resources, from Picasso's painting, a lot of Zimbabwe literature as well. Is it important for you to blend such a variety of culture in references in your work?
It's important to be a citizen of the world. I think during the pandemic there was all this local, like, kind of, withdrawing into, like, we should be thinking and worrying about our local scenarios. I think for me, having grown up in this apartheid situation of Rhodesia, no, I think that the world has to be the local, the globe, international. There is a lot that one can learn from other cultures, from other practices, whether it is Picasso or it's Wolfgang Tillmans with photography, or it's Abdullah Ibrahim playing the piano. Like, I think what happened to some of us who were the colonized is we were told we were no good, and that we lost because we were colonized. So we lost the war. So the desire to prove that we are good and we are capable, I think for me asks for an outward reach rather than a return to an interiority or a local. So going out, is part of what I find exciting, thrilling. There's always something new to learn, even from those who colonized us. Yes. So it is important to me to keep an open mind, and also South-South, exchanges, thinking through how the indigenous people in the Americas think about certain relationships, and my part of the global South. That kind of horizontal thinking and exchanging is as important as also thinking about this what feels like a vertical, Western, Southern, the global North, Southern, and not respecting the boundaries, completely in defiance of the boundaries. Yeah, I prefer that.
Is it fair to say that sometimes if we go back too much to with our own tribe, let's say, it becomes us against them in kind of mentality, instead of what you're saying a lot of times when you have more of a global approach, all the same tribe? It's one big group of people sharing a rock in space, traveling hundreds of million miles per hour. Right?
Because we are sharing the same climate, the same waters, the same. So it's, to think anti-colonial, decolonial, is to think all these resources belong to us all. Not just, as Cecil John Rhodes would have thought, everything I see is mine, and so I'm going to take everything and I'm going to make sure that nobody else has. So yes, I am driven by this feeling that we as humans have to figure out how to share the resources, all of them, because otherwise this apocalypse, that we're creating for ourselves with the abuse, the abuse of the environment, which also started with the whole abuse of global resources, trading humans, and all of that until now. This continues to be an issue. So yes, I would like to think that all the resources on the planet are for us all. And some of us who care ought to be thinking about how do we share and make sure that it's not like the next 50 years there's nothing to live for.
Are you overall optimistic about the future?
I'm neither optimistic nor pessimistic as such. I do think that the present ought to be very important. What we do right now, today, ought to be important. So I try to focus on what I can do in the now, knowing that the future is not disconnected from the past, but the present actually does shape how we can read and negotiate the baggage from the past and also what the future could possibly hold.
Nora, before I let you go, there's 3 questions I ask everybody who comes here on the show, and I'm very curious to hear yours. Okay, I need recommendations. We want to read. It can be something that you read recently, can be one of your favorites, it's up to you. Also, something to watch, a movie, TV show, a documentary. And third option, I'd like you to recommend as a guest. Who should we invite to be in the show now?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I would recommend as your next guest, Koyo Cool. Koyo is the founder of Raw Materials, a thinking space, not a school, in Dakar. Currently the director of Zeitz Mocha in Cape Town. I think Koyo has very important experiences and knowledges that more people ought to follow and think with her. A book, I've been rereading Dambudzo Marechera's House of Hunger. Dambudzo Marechera is a Zimbabwean l'enfant terrible, as I like to say, excuse my French. Wrote one very important book and died very young, The House of Hunger, Dambudzo Marechera. What was the third thing? A film.
Something to watch. A film, a documentary, a TV show, something that you enjoy.
I really love Bamako. Abdurrahmane Sissoko. Abdurrahmane Sissoko. It's also a difficult name for me to say. Sissoko. It's a film where the residents of Bamako put the World Bank on trial in Bamako, in somebody's courtyard in Bamako. It's a classic.
You gotta check that out. I'm not familiar with it. All right, listen. What a joy, and a bigger takeaway from this conversation personally, because selfishly I get to share this with the world, but I also get to learn a lot from the people that I talk to, is that finding your purpose in life is finding a way to serve not only your community, not only the people in your family, but serve your heart, your passion with courage. And I do hope that this episode is a small little brick on your pyramid for your legacy, that we can somehow be part of it and share with the world the human being that you are, the artist that you are. And I'm thrilled that I had the chance. I know you're performing tonight. I know it's going to be great. Make the best of it, enjoy it, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for the invitation, and thank you for these brilliant questions and just also your own humanity. What a joy. Thank you for this hour, of just, joy. Yeah, let's do it.
Excellent. We did it.
We did it.